starting by settling in. Starting to notice the breath, connecting in with the body, and simply becoming just a little more aware. Maybe you roll those shoulders back and down. Maybe you feel that gentle tug of the chin, bringing a little more length to the neck. Maybe you feel just that gentle pull of gravity on your hips, on your toes. Starting to sense into how you're feeling and doing. Doing a little body scan. Maybe you go from head to toe. Maybe you go from toe to head. Maybe you just start to notice what is vying for your attention now. Starting to have that little sense of compassion for the body. Maybe you start to use that exhale, that to let go of some of that unnecessary tension. Not just shifting it around and moving it, but truly releasing it, trying to really just let it go. Setting an intention, a little word or a phrase for our time together for your class this morning. Maybe it's an encouragement, maybe it's an I am statement, maybe it's a goal you're working towards. And sealing it in with a nice big breath. Really try to fill the lungs. Breathe into that diaphragm area. Huge inhale as much as you can. And take that slow, soft release. And letting it out. Let's take one more big breath like that. Filling not only the lungs, but breathing into that abdomen area. Huge inhale. You couldn't possibly fit any more air into your body. And take that exhale. Let it go nice and slow. And feel that settling that came from that. Start to wake up the body. Find maybe a little squeeze in the shoulder blades. A little wiggle into the fingers. Maybe a little wiggle into the toes. Inviting a bit of movement. And maybe you drop the near down towards the shoulder, getting gently into the neck. Maybe the head starts to roll towards the other side. And bring that head back towards neutral. Let's take a big inhale and sweep those arms up overhead, finding that nice good morning stretch. Maybe you lengthen through the legs, maybe you just reach the arms up. And then take that nice big reach. And take that exhale, just let the arms hang heavy overhead. Feel that bend to the elbows. Take one more of those nice big stretches. Feel all that space that's created. Feel all of that length that you could make. You couldn't possibly get any taller because you're reaching so much. And take that exhale. Start to hug those knees gently in towards the chest. Maybe take a little rock from side to side, continuing to wake up and find just a bit of movement. Notice, as soon as you roll a little bit on towards the top of the head, you want to tuck that chin back in. Maybe you feel that nice massage over shoulders. Starting to really feel that low back pressing in towards the mat. Beautiful. Let's bring the arms out wide like a T. Drop the legs over towards your favorite side. Just coming into a gentle twist. Maybe you feel that rotation through the spine. Maybe you feel that pull through the shoulders. Try to keep both shoulders as planted down as possible. Take that exhale and soften. Maybe even here on that top hip, you feel just that gentle pull of the muscles that connect from the hip to the back. And if you want a little more, that hand that's closest towards the legs can just rest on top. Feel how just the simple weight of the hand adds in that little bit of depth. Taking one more breath here. See if you can notice a full inhale. And take a slow, soft exhale. Releasing the hand off the top of the leg. And swinging the knees up through center and dropping them down towards that opposite side. Maybe it's your non-dominant side. Maybe there's some extra tension that lives here. Trying to wiggle and have both shoulders still planted down. Maybe that hand as closest comes on top of the legs. Just starting to sense in to the body. And can you feel that little rotation that happens through the vertebrae? Can you feel that little bit of openness on the shoulder? Maybe you bring palm facing up. Nice breath in. Soft breath out. Releasing any binds you might have. Starting to bring those knees back up towards center. Hovering the knees right over the hips. The arms come alongside the body. Or maybe even those hands start to tuck underneath the pelvis, underneath those sits bones, really helping that low back stay nice and connected. And wanting to play around with that tipping point here of that low back connection and also working on strengthening into the pelvis, those postural muscles. So draw the knees in just a little bit closer over the body. Start to feel that little squeeze that happens there. Maybe you feel that through the hip flexors or through the glutes, feeling how the low back is really secure on the floor. It's almost easy to do to keep the low back down. And then as you exhale, start to bring those knees a little more over the hips and then work on just slowly extending the legs or the knees past that tipping point or past the hips. Feel where that low back starts to want to lift up and off. And that's where you stop. And you take that exhale, you draw that belly button in, you press the low back down, and maybe you get another millimeter or you get another inch of extending those knees past. Feel all of that control, feel that balance, and that the body is trying to find in you. Take that inhale, bring the knees back in, hugging them in softly. And feel that nice big squeeze. Take that exhale, start to elongate through the legs again, finding that tipping point and working at finding that control. Drawing that belly button in, engaging through the core, engaging through those low back muscles to really press everything down. Maybe find just another little inch, and then bring the knees back in. Finding that length again, bring the knees back out. The more you lengthen through the legs, the more weight you're adding into this balancing little project. Feeling that control, maybe you hold at that max for a full round of breath. Still trying to find the inhale. Maybe use that exhale, nice and strong through the core. Hug those knees back and bring them in, nice big squeeze. And we'll take another one, finding that bit of length. Beautiful. Maybe as you're holding here on that edge, you extend the left leg just a little bit longer. Feel how maybe you can extend the left leg completely. Bring the knee back into that tipping edge. Lengthen through the right side. Bring the knees back to meet and hug the knees back in. Taking one more just towards neutral, extending those knees. Maybe find just a touch more. And then bring the knees back in. And plant the feet down, untuck the hands, take a little windshield wiper from side to side. Feel that release on those hip flexors, through the low back. Start to feel the movement happening in through the pelvis and through the hips and the knees, and drop down from side to side. Let's come to some stillness. Planting the feet in nice and close towards those sit bones. Maybe wiggle them in just a little more, finding that nice alignment between the ankle and the sit bone. Rolling those shoulders back and down. Feel all of that wonderful surface area move through the back. Take an inhale to lengthen as much as you can through the spine, and exhale to press into the feet, just floating the hips up a bit, keeping this really nice and gentle. I love to take an inhale and lengthening through the spine first because that helps you really root those shoulder blades down. Excellent. If you want a little more openness through that front body, maybe you interlace the hands underneath and take that nice reach down for the heels. Feel that collarbone open, that heart area lift. Starting to feel the legs become a little more active. Take a nice big inhale. Feeling the lungs full. And take that exhale, keep that height that you just gained. Maybe press a little stronger in towards the feet. Maybe a little squeeze through the glutes. You need to lift the hips up just a little bit higher. Just finding that nice activation through the whole body. You can take that exhale and start to lower all the way back down, releasing the hands at any point. Letting the spine lower vertebrae by vertebrae. Let's hug your right knee in towards the chest, wrapping hands around the knee. Maybe it's the top of the knee, maybe it's behind the knee. Starting to feel that nice squeeze through the right side of the hip. If you want a little more here, you can walk that left foot a little bit farther. Maybe work towards lengthening it completely. Feel free to take a couple of breaths to do so. The more you lengthen through the leg, odds are the more you're starting to feel that little release, that tipping point off of that low back. Maybe you hug the knee in just a little more to feel that nice connection. Seeing if you can relax through the shoulders here. Just trying to keep the leg in place, just through a little bit of natural tension through the arms, but you're not really squeezing the whole torso and upper body in order to keep it there. Taking another full breath here. Start to notice a little more depth on that inhale. A little more softening on that exhale. Start to bring a little bit of movement in towards that knee. Maybe just start to rock it forward and back. Feeling a little release of the legs and hugging the knee back in. Find a little bit of stillness and switch it over towards left and right. And finding stillness. Let's work on a little external rotation. And so start to let the knee just kind of rotate as you bring the ankle a little bit more forward. Maybe you start to slide that left hand just a little bit more down the leg. Start to feel that openness that happens. Not really dropping the leg out towards the side. The knee is still right over the body, but we have that little twist happening. Take that exhale and start to bring that ankle and knee more in line north and south. And we'll work on the tricky one, is working on that internal rotation. So starting to kick that ankle off towards the side. Odds are this is a much tighter sensation. Maybe you start to slide that right hand just down the leg ever so gently. That left hand can stay on top of the knee to help protect. We're not trying to twist the knee. Let that movement go all the way down towards the hip. So imagine it being your thigh bone, that femur bone that's having the rotation. The foot is just there like the steering wheel. Take that exhale, come back towards center, give that knee a nice big squeeze in towards the body. Letting it feel that neutral. And then that's starting to just rest the leg into that right hand. Left hand releases as you drop the leg out towards the side. Starting to feel that combination of a little external rotation, but feeling that movement of the leg as well. Feeling that range of motion, feeling the space you have through the hip. Maybe you feel that gentle pull through your inner thigh. Option to keep hand underneath the knee to help support it. Or if you want a little more challenge, you can bring that hand a little more on top of the leg. Adding in the weight of the hand, the arm, but not actively pressing the knee down. Let it be nice and gentle. Let the body just sink and melt in towards it. As we hold these poses for just an extra breath or two, I'm trying to get in towards that fascia and that connective tissue, which is superficial. It's between the skin and the muscles. So it's that nice little top layer. And oftentimes with our fascia, sometimes it sticks in towards the muscles. It doesn't like to stretch. Not really designed to do so. It's designed to keep those muscles in place, whether for good or for bad. So it can enforce that positive posture or even a negative posture. You can alter it by holding the pose for a length of time. That's why those yin and restorative practices, you often just kind of melt into them, feeling that little release after a certain point. But if our fascia is stuck, if it doesn't have a lot of movement to it, might create tension that we might mistaken as muscle tension. Beautiful. Let's start to add in just a little bit of movement here. Maybe you start to bring that knee just a little bit closer towards the shoulder. So still trying to keep it out as much as possible. Start to draw it upwards. Maybe you feel that little squeeze. Maybe you really press into that left foot to get a little extra. Keep letting the knee fall open. And then take that exhale. Start to bring the knee a little bit more in line with the hip. Where you feel that rotation down. Come on back to something a little more neutral. And bring the knee back over top of the body. And give it a nice big squeeze. And take that release, send the leg nice and long. Moving slowly, finding that length. And just a few moments to feel that little rebound. Maybe you feel a little tingle sensation through the hip. Take a nice inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Take another good morning stretch. Really point through the toes. Reach those arms up. Maybe you feel the difference between the right side of the body and the left side of the body. Slowly creating a little bit more range of motion and space. Take that exhale, hug both knees in towards the chest. Take that little rock from side to side. A little love for the low back. Help support the pelvis. Release the feet on towards the ground. And taking an inhale, find a little bit of length. Exhale, press into the feet. Just float the hips up. Nice and gentle, just feeling a little engagement. Little squeeze through the glutes. Maybe the hips come up ever so slightly more. Maybe you're reaching those fingers down towards heels, either individually or you can interlace to have that nice bind happen. Taking a full breath. Really create space through the lungs to that heart center. Take an exhale, engage to the core. And then start to release the hands and lower down nice and slowly. Take a little windshield wiper from side to side once you come all the way down. And then finding some stillness. Starting to bring that left leg in towards the body. Holding on either above or below the knee. Maybe you squeeze that knee in a little bit closer. Maybe you walk that right foot out just a little bit. Maybe you lengthen it completely. Letting the elbows relax a little bit. Letting the shoulders release. Still keeping that ever so gentle tuck of the chin. Taking another slow round of breath here. And let's start to invite a little bit of movement in, finding that forward and back, that north and south movement. Hugging the knee in a little more, finding that little release. Trying to keep the leg as relaxed as possible. Finding that stillness and switching it to that left and right. Feeling that little squeeze that happens as the knee floats over the body, but you don't roll onto that side. And then finding some stillness. Starting to work on that rotation of the legs, not bending at the knee, but starting to draw that right hand maybe a little bit down the leg as the knee opens up, and you feel that openness right down in towards the hip. Maybe you reach all the way down for ankle, or maybe hand is just somewhere down the middle of the shin. On that next exhale, slowly align knee and ankle back to center. Then we'll work on that external rotation. So starting to kick the heel up towards the outside. Letting that movement really journey all the way to the hip. Try to do this with control, although there's tons of tightness here. Take that release back towards center. And give that knee a nice big squeeze in towards the body. And start to let it fall off towards the side, opening up. And that right hand can release, either hanging out on top of the hip or reaching out long. Trying to stay nice and balanced. If you want that little extra challenge, maybe the hands start to journey more on top of the leg. Finding a full inhale and a soft exhale. Keeping the leg out towards the side. See if you can start to hug the knee in just a little closer towards the shoulder. Maybe it moves up a lot, maybe it moves up a little. Still trying to keep that right hip nicely planted. Take that exhale, come back through neutral. Bring the knee a little bit more aligned with the hip. Coming back up through neutral, really exploring that range of motion, that outer edge. Bring the knee back up and in, give it a nice big squeeze. Send the leg slowly, nice and long. Letting the left ankle meet up with the right. Maybe you add a little point through the toes, take those inhales, sweep those arms up overhead, really stretching it out, finding that length through the legs, so good. Take that exhale, just relax through the body, arms come alongside. Taking just a little moment for that rebound. Full inhale and a full exhale. Bend through the knees and plant the feet back down. Let the knees gently fall open, coming into a reclined cobbler pose. And if you need a little more gentleness, try walking the feet just a little farther away from the sits bones. Sometimes that really just gets in at a different angle. Maybe it helps find that release as you work a little bit through those inner thighs, that inside line of the hips. Beautiful. Let's add in a little bit of a shoulder stretch in here. Bringing left hand up overhead. Take a nice big reach. Add a bend to that elbow, maybe even tucking the hand underhead like a pillow. Maybe reach the hand a little bit farther down, tucking it along the spine, somewhere along the shoulders. And that right hand comes alongside the body, palm facing down. Maybe start to wiggle and slide that hand underneath the spine. And the lower down it is, the more gentle this will be. And the higher up it wiggles, the more intensive it'll be. But be mindful that as we hold this for a couple of breaths, the intensity will naturally start to increase. So starting more gentle than you think you need. At any point, you can always release the hands as well. Taking 3 or 4 more rounds of breath. Maybe you ease off the intensity, inviting a little more softness into the pose. Or maybe you add a little bit more depth. Listening to your body and taking what you need. Finding that nice full inhale. Seeing if you can breathe so big that the right hand underneath can feel the breath in. And take a so soft exhale. Starting to release that left hand up, bringing it back alongside the body. Maybe just roll gently onto that left side to release that right hand. Maybe bring both palms facing up, feeling that rotation in at the shoulder. And then gently, maybe even with helping hands, you bring the knees back up through center. And taking the rebound you'd like, maybe you windshield wiper the knees, maybe you hug the knees in towards the chest. And coming back to stillness, and planting those feet in. And starting to walk the feet a little bit more towards the edges of the mat, coming into our reverse cobbler, also known as TP pose. The knees gently fall inwards, not to rotate at the knees, but to get that internal rotation in at the hips. We need a little more gentleness on the knee. I find walking my feet a little bit farther away from my sits bones tends to help. And let's start to reach that right hand up. Keeping it as connected with the ground as possible. Take a nice big stretch. And bend through the elbow. Bring that hand in underneath the head. And adding that gentle roll towards the right side. Left palm faces down and starts to tuck in underneath the back. Maybe right along that spine, whether it be close towards tailbone. We'll feel that little nook through the low back, or even higher up. Just being mindful that as we are here for the next number of breaths, the intensity will most likely increase. Lots is going on here, getting into different angles of the hips, the knees and the feet. Maybe feel that spine pressing in, feeling the difference, having the hands tucked underneath the spine. Maybe you notice a little something through elbow or shoulder. Trying to invite a little bit of softness in. Building that trust with the body. And in this moment, you're okay. It's safe. It can start to relax. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. Maybe you ease off, finding a little bit of gentleness. Maybe you add a little more intensity. Lots of times as we're breathing, we often just breathe with the front half of our body. But if you get into that diaphragmatic breathing, where you move through the abdomen is round like a donut or like a tube. It doesn't just stay in the front. So if you were to work on breathing so intensely that you can feel it through that bottom hand, you start to feel that inhale, just gently press against the top of the hand. And take that exhale, feel that release. And let's start to release the arms and the hands. Reaching that right arm up. Maybe take a nice big stretch, reaching up. And then you slide the hand all the way down, alongside the body. Coming off the left hand, both palms, reach upwards. And start to heel toe slowly, those feet back aligned. Either taking a little windshield wiper for release, or maybe you want to try the hugging the knees in towards the chest. Coming to stillness, let's plant the feet back down. And let's bring right foot up towards the ceiling. And wrap the hands around the leg just to help ease off. Working on feeling into hamstrings here. You can have a deep bend to the knee. You've got really tight hamstrings. Maybe you work on lengthening a little bit through the leg. If you want to work with that full back line of the leg, no matter where you're at, add a little flex in towards the foot. Feel that little pull through Achilles and maybe through the calf. You can still have that sensation with a deep bend. You've got a flex to the foot, add a point into the foot. Maybe you feel that more through the top of the ankle and through the shin. Coming back to that flex, lengthening, really pressing that heel up as high as you can. If you want, you can add that little pulse sensation, a little pull through north and south like we did with the knee. but feel how this time you might feel it more through glute, low back, hamstring. Finding stillness. Let's release the hands, using just the power of the legs to keep the leg up. Maybe feel that through hip flexor and core. And start to draw some circles, starting nice and small. Feeling that rotation of the leg around through the hip. Maybe those circles start to get a little bit bigger. Maybe we're getting bigger still. Taking that option to sweep the ankle around in circles as big as you want. Feeling that full range of motion of the leg into that hip. You might notice little cracks and pops that happen. Maybe you feel those bones connecting. Starting to also notice the ankle. Does the foot or the leg rotate around as you find that openness? It's all just natural movement. Let's find stillness and switch to the other direction. Option to keep those circles really big and bring them smaller, or to start small again, bringing them bigger. Maybe you start to feel that little bit of fatigue that happens through those hip flexors. Starting to have the motions. Come back towards stillness. Extend that heel nice and long. Bend the knee, plant the foot down. Take your little release, a little windshield wiper, hugging the knees in. And coming to stillness. Let's roll on to our left side of the body, like you'd come into a little fetal position, using that bottom arm as a pillow. Beautiful. Wanting to come into a bit of a quad stretch here. So adding a bend to right knee, trying to reach down for right ankle. And let the knee relax back down. Imagining stacking knee over knee. Option to lengthen through the left leg if you feel a little bit more balanced with that motion. Also, option to stay relaxed here, but if you want to get a little more into quad, imagine pressing that pelvis forward, pressing the hips forward. Keeping the shoulder relaxed. Finding that little balance as maybe you rock a little bit on the hip. Pressing hip forward, maybe you also start to just gently bring knee ever so slightly back, intensifying the stretch. And then without slingshotting the foot, find the release of the leg. And then roll back on to the back. Bending the knees and planting the feet down. Feeling that low back connect nicely. Let's bring left foot up towards the ceiling, wrapping the hands around. Starting to get into that hamstring. Maybe you feel that gentle pull. Maybe you feel that right foot helping stabilize. And adding in that nice flex to the foot. Feeling you awaken through the calf, the Achilles. Finding softness through the shoulders. And softening through the jaw. Let's add a nice point to the foot, activating more of that front line, feeling it through the top of the foot and through the shin, really pointing as much as you possibly can. And take another nice flex. Bring that heel up, oh, so nice and long. Add in one more point. And then one more flex. You can keep the flex or you can relax through the ankle. Maybe you add in that little pulse, getting it a little bit deeper towards the glute and hamstring. If you have the pulse, find stillness and release the hands alongside the body. Start to draw some little circles with the ankle, finding a little bit of movement. And then start to let the circles become a little bit bigger. Letting them become bigger still. Maybe find big sweeping motions. Trying to not rock too much between left hip and right hip, letting that motion really stay between the leg and that hip socket. And then finding the opposite direction. Maybe start small again, or maybe you keep the legs really big. Starting to move to the opposite sides. Moving a little closer to either that max of really big sweeps or tiny little movements. Finding stillness, lengthening that heel up nice and long towards the ceiling. Bend the knees and plant the feet. Take that little windshield wiper or hug the knees in. Finding stillness. And rolling onto that right side, finding that little fetal position here, using that bottom arm as a pillow. Starting to bend through the left knee as you reach down to grab left ankle. Bring that left knee back down. And start to feel that little sensation in towards the quad. So maybe you start to just press the hips forward. That knee might naturally start to come back. Maybe lengthen through that bottom leg a little bit. Just helping keep your balance. Trying to keep knees together. Maybe press that hip a little bit more forward and start to draw that left knee just a little bit farther back, finding that little increase of sensation and intensity through the quad. One more round of breath here. At the end of that next breath, slingshotting the foot, find that relief. You lengthen through the leg and roll back onto the back. Hug both knees in towards the chest. Nice big squeeze. Lengthen both legs up towards the ceiling, maybe holding on to the back line of the legs. Maybe you add a nice flex to the feet, increasing that intensity. Imagining you're riding a unicycle. Let's start to add some circular motions in towards this. So not letting the legs fall down. They're not coming to a hover, feet are staying over top of the hips. For more gentleness, you can keep the hands on the legs. If you want a little more intensity for those hip flexors, you can release the hands alongside the body. You even tuck them underneath the sits bones. Just using those lower abdominals a little bit to find that motion, feeling that openness in the hips, getting into the knees and the ankles. Kind of does the whole lower body. And let's find stillness and switch directions. Feeling that low back pressing in. Taking just a few more pedals. Let's go back it right back up. Find your stillness, lengthen through the legs, nice and strong. And then bend the knees, plant the feet. Take a little windshield wiper. And coming into a freestyle portion of the class. Is there another pose or movement your body is craving before you settle into Shavasana? A little happy baby would always feel good. It's usually how I end class. Maybe there's something else you're thinking of. This is your time to explore a little movement and take exactly what you need. And then at any point that you're ready, you can start to settle into that final pose. If you still want a little more freestyle, maybe there's another pose you want to explore, you're welcome to take that. And starting to connect in with that breath. Take a full inhale. A full exhale. Letting the body simply melt in. And I'll call you back when it's time. Allowing the breath in all its fullness be the first movement you take. Feeling that full journey the breath takes as you find that big inhale. Noticing the nose, the throat, the rib cage, the lungs expand, and the diaphragm lifting. Take that slow release. Feel everything draw back in. Maybe you're remembering that intention you said at the beginning of class. If it no longer serves the rest of your day, letting it go. Maybe picking a new one. Starting to invite a little bit more movement in towards the body. Finding some of those wiggles and squeezes, those little movements you like to take to wake yourself up fully. If you like to roll on to your favorite side before coming up, you finding that fetal position one more time. Bottom arm as a pillow, gentle bend to the knees. Feeling softness through the body. Coming up. Taking that inhale to lengthen through the spine. Exhale to roll the shoulders back and down. Bring the hands towards heart center, finding that position of gratitude. Thinking of something you can be grateful for in this moment. And I thank you so much for sharing your practice with me, for letting me guide you. And we have a wonderful rest of your day filled with many moments of joy. I pray that you're always blessed. Namaste.